Okay, for now, Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, Bertz, you have beat it, right?
Yes.
And you're still playing it? You can't stop?
Can't stop.
Okay, how many hours are you at, do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just I leave work and I boot it up, and then I fall asleep and I come back to work and boot it up.
Is it pure love, or what are you doing here?
No, yeah, I'm just... There's little pockets of the map I haven't uncovered yet, and I'm finding the weird stories that are... I found this weird cave that has something that I think a lot of people should see. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
It's weird, but there's a rock formation up north that looks like there might be a little door in there, and there is. And
by God, there is.
Go in there and look.
Okay, trying to just set the scene here a little bit. So, Cork, where are you at? How much have you played?
I think I'm 30-something% in.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great. Leo in the booth, what about you?
Like 40%?
Wow.
I mean, 41.
Yeah, 30-something%. I'm just at chapter 4 now.
Oh,
so,
geez. Okay.
yeah.
Miller?
About 20%.
Okay. Reeves?
101%.
Wow! Benjamin
I
Reeves!
did it.
Ladies and
did it,
gentlemen,
Ben.
really did it.
Yeah. No, I'm closer to 10%.
Okay, yeah, I think
got
it's
the
around
full
there.
spread here.
I'm like towards the end of chapter 2, maybe like 5 or 6 hours, something like that. I'm having a tough time putting my finger on this game and how I feel about it. Is anybody else in the same wheelhouse, or is everybody just a mad love affair with this thing?
I would say I don't feel like I'm having trouble understanding what I like and don't like about it, but I do have mixed feelings about it, I would say.
Yeah? How so?
Well, at the point that I'm at in the game, which I should caveat by saying that, I am only at somewhere between like 12 and 15 hours in, which is really kind of like you're just done with the tutorial.
Right. But if you say that's
basically.
not enough time for you to like understand what a game is and like enjoy it, like if a game doesn't let you enjoy it by 10 hours in, that's kind of messed up.
Well, so here's the thing. I am enjoying it, but there's things about the game where, and I don't think I've ever had this experience with a game before, where some of the things that make it magnificent and impressive are also the things that are holding me back from enjoying it in certain moments.
Totally.
Where there's things that are like little, they're mostly little things. They're things like there's a lot of detail in how much control I have over my character. And so I'll get back into a certain situation and I won't know how to control my character because it's been so long since I've had to do that thing.
Right.
That they've only showed me once.
And it's just been a wave of tutorials that you forget pretty quickly.
Or I'll go into camp, and there's this beautiful thing about going into camp where it's very slow-paced, and it makes you feel like, oh, this is kind of your home, and it's very quiet, and you can sit with your friends and have coffee and look at the sunrise and all that kind of stuff. But it's also really slow, and I just want to go get my bowl of stew and get out of Dodge, and I can't.
It feels tedious in a lot of ways, which we should let people who like the game a lot more speak pretty soon. But like, there's moments where you're just like pressing and holding a button, watching people walk across the country.
Yeah.
Or like moments where you're like, I should loot all these bodies because I want all this stuff. But like doing that it feels like 10 minutes.
I think you just need to change the internal tempo you have for this game. I wish there was a screen at the start of the game that just says, take your time, breathe it in. Because if you're going in with anything but that attitude, it's going to feel so bizarre.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that I don't like it,
whiskey.
right? It's just that, like, I at this point in the equation, I feel like I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
I'm not in that boat. I love it so far. I've enjoyed every moment of it, actually. But I think that's because I've always been someone who enjoys slow-paced stuff, slow-paced entertainment and things like that.
Yeah, you're roommates with JV.
Yeah, that's why, no. So I'm enjoying the slow burn, and even the things that other people are seeing as tedious, I see more as like forcing me to kind of enjoy these small moments.
Totally. Dakota might be barking up the same tree a little bit, a little twist here, but Dakota writes in, by the way, we're treating this like a little game club light, so we have some emails from the community, which is great. Thanks to everybody that wrote into podcast@gameformer.com.
Dakota.
That's it. The state of Dakota, Mrs. North Dakota writes in and says, hey, Ben and GI folks, this is Dakota now writing in from Dayton, Ohio. That's confusing. I want to start by saying that this game is incredible. Like, they can't stress that enough. It's absolutely amazing. But the big emphasis Rockstar seems to have put on realism is fine, but it can be infuriating at times. Arthur and his horse have realistic motions, which is cool until you realize how people move slower in real life than in video games. Searching houses or camps for loot takes a lot longer compared to other games due to the insistence on realistic movements. While I appreciate the level of detail put in the game, at times it's frustrating. If I wanted to slowly open multiple drawers just to find one thing, I'd go in my kitchen, Jeff Cork.
Oh.
As of right now, I've apparently completed about 19% of the game, which surprised me because I felt like I wasn't really accomplishing anything that entire time. I can't remember who it was, but a developer on the show once said, to paraphrase, "It's not about the money cost, it's the time cost. And this game just feels like it's taking a lot of my time." That seems to be the overall sentiment. A lot of people appreciate the hell out of the game, but are just flummoxed by how slow it is. So Jeremiah Marshall from Austin, Texas says, "Hey, for many people, it seems realism is the only the bandana pulled up around the face of the game, hiding the boring Wild West horse riding simulation underneath." If you can wrap your minds around that one. My question to y'all is this: how much realism is too much? We generally play games to escape realism, but we also want to experience stories from bygone ages as they would have been. What would Rockstar have to have put in the game to make you think that they went overboard with the adherence to realism? He brings up urinating as an example. It's like, it seems like the game isn't too far away from like, yeah, here's a bladder meter as well. And just, you're going to take your time out in the woods every couple hours.
There is urination in the game without spoiling anything.
Oh, you're right.
There is.
Yeah. Shocking first-person urination.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
you drive. It's like, without revealing details of that was an interesting beat where it's like the game forces your change of camera perspective. It's pretty rare that like for a storytelling reason a game will do that. But
And no
I
matter
liked
how
that,
much
yeah.
you move that right stick, you can't crane your neck enough to get to the good stuff.
the little Morgan,
Come on.
little Tennessee Walker.
I feel like the conversation surrounding like too much realism or, where it is on that spectrum is just so subjective, and it depends how you're going into the game. Like you said, like what your kind of internal, focus or whatever would be.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like there are an overwhelming amount of things to manage in Red Dead. I think Birds and I were talking that even the things that you do have to manage, like cleaning your gun or, the small things like feeding Arthur or bathing him, like those things provide such a small like increment on the actual gameplay. Like if you ignore them or if you don't do them often enough, that they're not that big of a deal.
It's a good point. I'm trying to figure that out, Birds, because it's like all the cores, all this stuff. There's meters up to wazoo, at least 3 or 4 of them.
There's 3 meters for Arthur. And
all right, but then
2
the
for
horse also right.
that
So
are
Can't even count that high.
yeah, I don't even know what number you're. It's astronomical. But that's what I'm wondering is, can I look? I'll do a little bit of this here and there, but how much should players be worried about understanding all those systems?
You don't have to be worried about it. If you're underweight or overweight, honestly, my guy was malnourished pretty much the whole game because I just didn't care that much about that system. It didn't affect me. I still was able to. I didn't feel like my health was draining precipitously during gunfights. I make sure you brush your horse when that little. It's not really well communicated in the game, but you're going to see like this red brush icon go over his health.
Okay.
That just means like stop for a second. You don't even need to stop at that second. When you get off your horse, just hit the brush thing. It's
run
1
through
second.
Run through the water. That will clean it off too.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah.
Even my Arthur was getting a little bit too dirty. I'm like, I don't know where to go. Eventually, I found a bath, but it's like, oh yeah, just go splash around in a river for a while. I guess that'll take care of it.
And I didn't really even care about that. Like, who cares if my guy's dirty? I've killed 1,000 people since the last time I was in camp. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I'm worried about.
I just noticed that people like make comments about it,
yeah,
but I
for sure.
haven't noticed anything.
Gun
further.
cleaning's like once every 4 hours, maybe I did it.
I'm trying to think of another game series where the sequel has gotten more realistic. It seems like for every series, it's always the opposite, right? Where it's like, we want to make things more and more convenient for players. Think of like Dead Rising or something like that, where it's like, all right, let's just get faster, get people moving. Can you guys think of anything like that?
Maybe just like a racing game or something.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, in terms of like what you're
Sports
talking
games.
about, I don't think so. Yeah, maybe sports games.
The Metro games, like they added the second Metro game added, easier way to play, but there were more realistic flourishes that they added.
Yeah, but it seems like some people were like, oh, Last Light's a watered down version of 2033. Like, there's definitely that crowd out there. So yeah, that's close, I guess, in some systems. But that's the crazy thing is just trying to think about. I love State of Decay, 1 specifically. I should play more of 2. But it's like, why do I feel annoyed by Red Dead and kind of the simmy aspects of this compared to State of Decay? And I think, touching on what Miller mentioned a little bit earlier, I think I just feel this overall lack of control. And that's like the one thing I want from video games. I don't care if it's challenging. I just want to understand it and have a sense of control. But when I'm just riding my horse, having a fine time, and then he bumps into somebody and now I'm being wanted, it's like, I don't know what's going on. Or I'm running out of town and there's a little bit of a slope and I take my horse on it. All of a sudden the horse, it goes ass over tea kettle and then it's just whinnying and there's a big prompt to kill my horse. Like, what the hell? Like, I literally yelled like, what the fuck? laugh out loud. Like, it's so brutal.
Yeah.
And I just feel like these things just happen to you, and I'm not having fun with those systems
I had
yet.
a very similar moment where I was like, this guy was like, hey, help, I'm like dying. Please take me into town and like take me to a doctor. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a good guy. Got on my horse. I'm running into town. Like, I had the cinematic camera on because, that's cool.
Ooh,
and like,
nice.
I'm like 2 blocks from the doctor's office, and this like horse comes out from out of nowhere, and I run into this horse. Me and the guy go flying over our horse's head, and like the guy dies in the process.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Damn it! And like I couldn't have done anything to avoid this horse. And then the guy's like, hey, you just hit my horse, and he like calls the police, and now my wanted meter goes off, and it's like
Yeah.
I was just trying to like save this guy's life. And on one level, it's like I can appreciate there's like systems interacting. It's kind of funny.
I'm like, that's a solid story. I like
But
that.
That's
also
it's the balance of the story generators,
it's
for sure.
It rubs me the wrong way. It's like, why would that guy be so pissed at me for running into him that he calls the police immediately? Like, that rubbed me the wrong way. And then it's just like, I'm just trying to have a fun time, and I don't think I'm having fun.
Mailer, you said something interesting in the office the other day about, like, I don't think this game cares whether or not you're having fun, which is such a beautiful way to summarize Red Dead.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to come down too negative on it. Almost every moment I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2, I feel like it's on a whole other tier from almost any other game I've played
100%.
in terms of complexity, detail, beauty, sophistication in writing and art and all this stuff. It's awesome. And yet there's something that it just isn't always clicking for me of like enjoying myself.
Yes.
There's times that and that crosses a lot of thresholds. Some of it's stuff like what you were describing, where it's like, wow, that is really impressive that there's all these interacting systems that go together. But that wasn't really fun when like I accidentally killed a dog by riding over him with his horse. Like, that just, I don't feel good about that. I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't totally work for me in those moments. And so I'm constantly like in this sense of like ambivalence about the game.
I think the horse thing, though, and not to be a jerk, but like, there's a lesson to be had, which is like, don't go full gallop into town.
Be careful. Yeah.
Think about, you're on this massive horse that weighs probably 1,000 plus pounds, and just like, don't be a complete maniac. Which is not to say that you did that with the dog, but I'm like, if I'm going at a reasonable clip, things are getting out of the way for me. I'm not running over dogs and knocking people off of their horses by slamming into them.
And you can yell at them.
This is the true parent coming out in court.
Now, but
Cool.
there's a dissonance there though for me, because like at the same time the game tells me go into this town and kill 45 people, and then your life moves forward past that, right? That's a place that it doesn't care about the way that things actually are in the world, and other times it cares deeply about like, I don't know, how I walk when I'm in a bar and how fast I can move. And so there's like that tension, it gets to me a little bit sometimes, because like sometimes the game feels like it really wants to be super realistic, and at other times it doesn't.
To me, it's more about the cowboy fantasy than it is about the cowboy reality. And in certain aspects of how it works with the eating system, where I'm inclined to smoke a cigarette after a gunfight to get my Deadeye back up.
Right.
I think that's awesome. I think camping, cooking, making a pot of coffee in the morning, spending a ton of time hunting, that's all the fantasy of being a cowboy. And that
Sure.
includes killing hundreds of people
Right.
for
Yeah.
fun.
Did it
Like a
take a
real
while
cowboy.
to get to that point, Leo? I know you're a systems boy and a stealth boy, but did it
Right.
take a while just to like slow your tempo down to really savor that stuff?
It kind of did. I was definitely lukewarm on it the first few hours. I normally play games when I'm in a Discord with my friends, just hanging out. But that doesn't work with this game at all. I get almost nothing out of it if I do that. I've got to put the Turtle Beaches on and just commit. I didn't even know you couldn't run in your camp until like 5 hours in, because I never tried. I love just
Oh, that's
walking
interesting.
around, picking up a bowl of
Interesting.
stew, sitting down by the fire,
Yeah.
sipping it bit by bit. Love that.
Speaking, Leo, of turtles, Corey Doiron writes in a game full of graphic violence, foul language, and racial slurs and profanity. Oh, and racial slurs. The profanity filters prevented me from naming my horse Turd.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, they hadn't
Turd?
invented turds back then.
That's true. It was pre-Turd era.
I named my horse Fortnite.
That's
It
so
died.
scary.
It ran into a train and died.
Getting to something that Miller
A
was talking
train
about.
called Red Dead.
Mitch in Houston writes in and says, hey, is anyone else on the team frustrated with how bounties work in Red Dead Redemption 2? Specifically, if you get robbed or shot at and you kill in self-defense, you're suddenly wanted for murder? I love how the game strives for realism, but some of the random crimes lose their meaning if you can't fight back at all. I had weird stuff like that a little bit, where, for example, I was like crossing a bridge in one of the towns, and there was just a prompt that showed up on the screen. It said, jump to horse. I was like, what the hell? So I
sounds
pressed
good.
it, of course, and jumped across the bridge to somebody else riding their horse, knocked him off of the horse. And I was so hell-bent on not getting a bounty.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm not shooting back because I don't want any trouble here. He's firing his shotgun into me, and I'm just refusing to shoot back because I'm so scared of the bounty system.
Yeah.
And then, like, the sheriff runs out, shoots him dead, but then somehow that commotion in town, like, made it so that the mission in that town wasn't available anymore.
That's the one that's really annoying that you have to be careful. Like when you're going into a mission, just avoid people and get to that mission marker. Like it's really infuriating when something runs into you when you're just trying to get to that mission because you're like, well, now I gotta either lose the bounty or pay the bounty, which I never paid a bounty. You don't
Really?
pay a bounty. You're an outlaw.
Okay,
that.
so what? It was just
F
astronomical for you then throughout the entire
Oh,
game?
thousands of dollars in every part
Everywhere
of town.
you went.
But like that doesn't prevent you from going into town and doing everything. It's just like once you do something, then they're back and they're coming at you again.
That sucks. I feel like I need a clean slate in this game. And then what was brutal, I remember you talked about yesterday, Jeff Cork, just that, then on some missions, your bounty will just go up astronomically. And it's like, oh, so if I have my handkerchief over my face at all times, will I not get that bounty for doing missions?
Well, people are going to be like, what the hell's wrong with this dude when you're walking around with a mask? Like, they're going to be intimidated and scared of you immediately. So you can't just wear a mask and walk into the store and go, I'll take a can of peaches. You know, like it doesn't
Right,
work
but just like
that.
whenever I'm doing a story mission, put the mask on. Is that the general tip?
You'll
Whenever
still
you-
get a bounty sometimes.
Yeah.
But also,
really?
you just do more missions. You do more heists. You get more money. You pay off the bounty. I've paid off every bounty I've had. I've got 0 bounty across every
Yeah,
bounty.
squeaky
same
boy.
here. I've had no trouble paying off bounties.
I like the bounty. Well, I don't like it when it interrupts you when you're going to do a mission because you had an objective in mind and then it gets railroaded. The quick fix I found is to just get out of town for a second, set up camp, and go back in so you don't lose a lot of time waiting for it to change. It'll
Okay.
change quickly that way.
Yeah.
But I like the system of pursuit and how it works because every once in a while I'd be just in the woods doing something, like you do, hunting for a legendary beast or whatnot. And
Right.
all of a sudden I'd see a red indicator and I was like, oh man, is there like a bear over here? And I'd pull up the map and there's a posse of like 6 dudes that are like just looking for me.
That's cool.
They don't know I'm there, but they're in the area. So sometimes I would just like dip down a ravine so like they couldn't see me and they'd go past. Other times I would like shoot my gun in the air, go into a cabin and have them filter in and just shotgun blast their heads off. It was an interesting emergent device for just general random gameplay in the open
Right,
world
right.
that I really enjoyed.
Cork, how you doing with the morality?
It's interesting because unlike the first Red Dead Redemption, where you've got John Marston, who's kind of at the point of his career where he's a reformed outlaw, Arthur is like in the middle of it. So like I am in the mindset where it's like I want to help everyone and do good guy stuff. Then you go on a mission with somebody and they're like, all right, let's do this. And you walk into town and then just one of your fellow gang members is like, all right, this is the part where we kill everybody. And you're like, wait, what? Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're doing that.
No Russian.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but that's just to the service of the story that they're telling more than anything else.
Yeah.
But it is a little jarring for me because I'm like going out of my way and being, helping everyone that I see and making all the good guy decisions. But then the story is pushing me in a different direction, which
But I kind of like, without revealing anything about the story, at least in the beginning, I like that Arthur is sometimes frustrated by his
Yeah,
gang
for
members.
sure.
And I like that the gang overall is set up as like, they're not an evil gang.
Yeah,
They're like-
they have a philosophical set of
Yeah.
guidelines that they try to adhere to.
Yeah.
They look out for each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Really.
I think they do have things that they look out for. I'll go on the record saying that all these people are evil.
You're
I
so
mean,
uptight, Miller.
Oh,
just
come
lighten
on, just
up,
because they
dude.
killed a person.
I mean, I actually find that one of the things that again that I constantly have attention about in the game is that like there's times that I'm really actively like my character is so despicable at times and is doing such terrible things to people that it really makes it makes me not enjoy what I'm doing with my entertainment time in those moments.
Right.
And yet, I certainly don't fault Rockstar, the creators of the game, for exploring a character that is,
Little more gray.
not just a superhero, right? Like, I think that's an interesting creative choice. I just mean for me personally, like, I don't really like being a person that is that terrible and then enacting, like, that's not a fantasy that I have.
Right.
And so it's I sometimes have that feeling of like, this is just kind of gross.
Yeah, Nick in Atlanta agrees with you here. He says, what's with Rockstar's insistence on making main characters that are inherently bad people? Gameplay. I think they need to line that up in some way, because these games, turns out people want to do horrible things and they don't want to have it be too much of a discrepancy there, I guess.
Yeah.
But Arthur, I like him as a character. Cork, I think you were 100% spot on when you said Josh Brolin from No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a great template. I don't know if it's the voice specifically, but
If you don't like him yet, he took a while for me to warm up to him. I didn't
Okay.
like him right away. I felt like he was typical cowboy, like could have been the Marlboro Man, like
Right.
stubbly face and his real long drawl when he talks about
Yeah.
certain stuff. Like, I was like a little over the top, but his personality really unfolds as the story gets along, and especially in the ramp up toward the end, the last couple chapters.
Ooh, okay.
I really started to like Arthur.
that's great.
Are you guys all playing like good cowboys, or did you guys anybody going?
I was good.
I'm trying to rank up the honor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I wish someone would just be a deviant bastard in this
Yeah.
office. Leo, could you be that person?
Well,
I'm
Joe's
really
playing,
high
isn't he?
honor. I greet everybody
Oh,
in
man.
the game.
Great.
I do
Any help,
greet
man?
everybody.
there are 4 different endings to Arthur's character arc. Yeah.
Okay, so Travis from McKinney, Texas is asking exactly that. Like, if it does matter, the morality.
Yes, it plays into. It's one of the parts that matters in determining your ending.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
cool.
Yeah, that's fun stuff overall. Okay, let's dive into some random stuff here. Joseph from Davis, California says, hey, I've been slowly making my way through Red Dead, and I'm loving every minute of it. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about is the first-person view. Do you guys use it? What do you think? I've only been using it only occasionally because I find it increases the difficulty significantly.
Oh, really?
But I'm amazed at how different and more intense the game can feel when you're in first person. The first time I tried it out, I was hunting and tracking a bear. It saw me before I saw it. I still don't know if my heart has fully recovered from pounding that quickly. I just use it as like a little experiment to see how's this going to look.
It's like a reverse Elder Scrolls for me, where it's like, oh, these animations aren't a complete embarrassment. I don't mind looking at Arthur.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, if I want like a closer look at something, sometimes I'll switch to first person. But other than that,
Yeah. I tend to always use it actually in one particular instance, and that's when I'm scavenging. Because the camera is really finicky about what you're targeting when there's multiple things in one tight space. It's even in camp by Arthur's bed. If you want to look at the photograph that's right next to the bed, or you want to sit, or you want to do the wardrobe, like, it's really finicky. If you're in first person, it's easier to direct it to what you want it to do.
Okay.
So I got in the habit every time I went into a cabin switching to first person.
Gotcha. Mitchell has a similar thought, saying, hello, recently got Red Dead 2. I've been enjoying it. However, the main complaint about the game so far is the abysmal controls. Everything feels awkward and clunky. It feels like a majority of the time I'm fighting the game more than anything just to interact with the world. I've seen some complaints about this. Cork, do you have strong thoughts on this?
I'm fine with it. Well, I'm a weirdo. I like pushing X and tapping it to run.
I've
I
never
think
minded
it's-
that.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think it's like, at least it gives me something to do while I'm sprinting.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed it in Bully, and
You like tap games? Is that what you're saying?
I like to tap stuff.
Oh, so many
see
of those
that-
bad games.
I agree. I like that part just fine. It makes me feel a little bit more engaged with the simplicity of just moving across a play space. I haven't yet warmed to the action controls. I feel like there's times when I think this might be part and parcel of like just being early on in the game. But I'm not quite ready to excuse it, because I feel like there's times that I'm really getting ramped up in cinematic moments towards a big action scene, and then I get into the action scene and things really fall apart quickly because like things about the movement and the shooting feel stiff to me.
Like, specifically, what are you talking about?
Well, like just getting into like a big fight in town and when I'm shooting at people with my guns and stuff like that. I don't love it yet.
It feels. I use the rifle.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And something about it, like I'll go to aim and fire, but he's like still cocking the gun or something when I'm
Okay.
firing.
You've got to press R2 again.
Yeah, it
pull
just
the lever.
it feels, and it hitches me up every time for some reason. And then also just like, I don't know, it feels fine-ish, but like I wish it was a little bit like tighter in terms of like a shooter. It's not like the tightest shooter out there.
There are they're in the settings you can tweak it. Cork, I think you posted yesterday in our Slack channel like some suggestions. You can change it to like first person controls, kind of, sort of, and then
Yeah.
also like tighten things up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you might want to dig around to that.
I might experiment with that.
Yeah.
But the action hasn't wowed me in general. It kind of feels like a lot of missions just evolve into like, oh, here's another shootout. And I've been behind cover and like trying to pop out of cover a couple times where it's like had trouble like actually popping up out of cover.
The cover system needs a revamp,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Huh. Okay. I feel like overall it's tied in the tutorial and just so many prompts. This game has so much to teach you, but just feels like that controller is bursting at the seams. At a certain point, it's like Rockstar just needs to make a VR game or something, because like these are too detailed, so intricate.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. I cannot possibly remember everything, and the controller is just bleeding.
I like those like tricks and stuff, like hold the button to back all the way out of the menu, or hold the start button to like
Right.
go straight to your map. Like
Right.
stuff like that's cool, and I wish it was in more games.
Yeah.
I just
yeah.
think it was such a weird choice to have. I know it was like that in GTA 5, I think, but have the giant PlayStation 4 button be the switch your camera.
Yeah.
It just seems like that's
Yeah.
your map button.
Hey, that's the map.
Look,
Get
fellas.
used to it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how it works.
Yeah,
that
if
is
anything,
weird,
like
yeah.
if you want to have you swipe it, like take advantage of that fact that it's a dumb touchpad that no one uses.
What would they do
Right.
on Xbox then?
Witcher 3.
Who cares?
Witcher 3 did that.
Enjoy
where
the
I
better
think
game overall.
You could swipe down on the touchpad and went straight to map on Witcher, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems nice overall. Let's see. Sean Studstill has an interesting take, saying, "Hello, podcast. First of all, I can't help but feel like there is little in terms of gameplay focus, rewards, and progression systems in the game. I'm about 20 hours in or so, and I've yet to obtain any new equipment or abilities that make the gameplay feel much different." What do you think of that, Bert? Is that true?
Well, this is a really hard thing to talk about, because some of the reason that you're not feeling like it's a proper progression system is because of narrative reasons that I can't get into.
Sure.
There's things that happen that impact those systems that
Okay, that's enough said.
Yeah.
I don't want to know more than that. Okay, and also, like, I guess the camp is kind of the definition of having something slowly progress, but maybe that doesn't impact gameplay as much as Sean would like here.
You can upgrade a carrying capacity with satchels by hunting, and a few other things you can upgrade that way. And that system is so involved that I can see why people would feel like there's not a straight progression, because you actually have to like focus and learn this system if you want
Right.
those
Yeah.
upgrades. It isn't just handed to you as you
Yeah.
kill more and more guys.
Yeah.
It's more like how you acquired outfits in the first game. You know,
Okay.
there are several different things you might have to achieve to get something that has ultimately great benefits to you.
Some impact.
Yeah.
Kate and Kate might have a problem with that. From North Liberty, Iowa, saying, "Hello, GI Wizards. Hello. I've been slowly playing through Red Dead Redemption 2, and something striking has stood out to me, and it's different from that of its predecessor. In the original Red Dead, one of my favorite parts of the game was hunting. In the second one, I find myself not hunting at all due to the graphic nature of the animal deaths. The screaming, writhing deer makes me feel uncomfortable and sad."
You just gotta stab it in its heart.
Yeah, just
And then
quickly
skin
and
it.
painfully. Yeah.
And then like slowly peel its skin off.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
The
those
part-
animations.
Oh, especially then when you have like the skinned deer and then he just puts it on his shoulder. Something about that like grosses me out. That you have like this raw animal just like writhing on his shoulder.
And it gets
Oh.
blood on your coat.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
and your horse.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like.
I love it.
Own it. Own it. You're shooting Bambi. You know
Yeah.
what? You should know what that's like.
Yeah.
What
I
that
think
It's got to
animal-
eat.
Totally.
He
I
had to get
skinned
used
a
to it.
bear the other day, and like those things look super weird without skin.
Really?
Turns out,
Really
yeah.
good.
You into it?
Yeah, I like it though. I'm into it. Hey, any skinned bears out there? Hit me up.
Real quick, speaking of skin bears, Henrik Mortensen from Norway says, first of all, I want to say there's no spoilers contained within this email, but to all people who have bought Red Dead 2 physically, do not open up the map inside the box. And if you do, be careful to only look at the side with the map, because on the other side of the poster, there's a stupid spoiler.
Really?
I don't know what it could be. I'm glad to have that heads up, and I don't
Yeah.
want to know another thing about it. That's very interesting. Eric from Seattle says, "Hello, everyone. Got a short email for you. Red Dead 2 is great. Loving the game. As I was playing, I kind of had a funny thought, though. This is finally a game that says, boy, more than God of War. If you don't believe me, hold on the left stick when riding a horse, and it's like hearing a cowboy Kratos." That's a very good
true.
point.
Boy,
That's
boy,
very
boy,
helpful.
boy, boy.
Okay.
I only had female horses, so I didn't get that.
really?
I've heard it
Oh.
like as we've been playing through for some of the videos we've been posting.
What's the deal with the horse? Because you had that one in the beginning, Tennessee Walker or whatever its name was.
That's
and
the
then
type of horse.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not
I
a
thought that
Texas
was the name,
Ranger.
too.
Yeah.
I was so
There's
stupid.
people,
name was like
there's
Brown
people out there
Horse.
who ride horses who are just like, I'm done with this podcast.
Yeah, but then the second horse I got, Clydesdale, I thought was pretty
Clyde
cool.
S. Dale?
Okay, but they had that thing where there's a mission where you go and get a horse, like buy a new horse as part of the mission.
yeah.
And they're like, ain't no problem having two horses, Morgan. Your other horse will still be there. I don't know where that horse went.
It's in the stable.
Yeah, it should be at your camp.
Well,
Wait.
it'll be at your camp after you improve the horse
Oh,
area.
when
See-
you have the hitching stuff.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
told
okay.
Bert's about this the other day. I ran into a thing where, depending on the order that you run through the initial slate of missions that are available at camp and
Yeah.
nearby, you cannot get to that for a really long time. To
Really?
that mission, yeah, like just if you just happen to not do that mission.
Oh.
I was at the 10 or 11 hour mark before I did it, and because of that, I couldn't change my horse. It won't let you, unless I missed something. It did not seem like I could change my saddle to a new horse until I did that mission, nor could, and the stables wouldn't appear on the map. There was no way to go buy a new horse. And so I started getting to the point where it's like, okay, I've found these other horses and I like them and I'd like to use them, but I can't. Just because like it had sort of gated that away until I had done the mission. And then, all that stuff just opens up once you do the thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, getting specific here. Dalen Briggs says, hello, crew. This is Dalen from Clinton, Iowa. Hello. Did you write in? Anyways. It says, hey, is anyone else bothered by all the stores using the catalog system? It seemed nice at first having a larger stock supply, but I was really disappointed when I got to larger cities to find that they all had the exact same things as the smaller stores. The game shows you everything you can buy right away. Also, have you looked into the entertainment/shows? Some of them are a bit lame, but others are surprisingly entertaining. Specifically, the St. Denis or St. Denis shows.
Saint
Yeah,
Denis.
the Saint Denis one
Denis.
is.
There's 2 vaudeville theaters in Saint Denis.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Let's check
I
that
went
out.
to see a show. It's fun.
Yep.
It is a fun?
Yeah,
okay.
it
I
is.
went to like
Is
one.
Ricky Gervais there?
Cat Williams.
Howdy. He's just got a tight black suit. I saw one where it's just like a little slideshow presentation. It's like an Aesop fable or something.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
That one
there's actual like theatrical stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
like-
cool.
That fable is funny because there are like grown men who are really into it.
Like laughing their ass off.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, for
Ha
sure.
ha!
The one about the bear? Is that
Yeah,
the one you're talking
they
about?
are loving it.
I saw that one.
ran fast, all right. Shooting the gun in the air. But the part about the stores, that was one of those like jaw-dropping moments, is just going through that catalog and be like, what is this UI? Like, this is so, just this system alone is just nuts. Just going through a store, that's like more detailed than the average game out
Yeah.
there.
Like I think
Yet
I
somebody
think it's
found a
great.
way to complain about it.
That is true, yeah.
with the catalog, I found something if you're really into playing dress up with Arthur.
Yeah.
If you pick a random hat, and then I think if you hold down if you press X, it'll show you all the hats in the character in-game model. So rather than looking at some kind of line illustration of all these hats that kind of blur
Yeah.
together, you can actually see what they look like. And
Oh,
all
nice.
the
Yeah,
pieces of
that's what
clothing.
I've been doing.
Yeah.
Like even with the outfits and
Yep.
stuff too, you can just place everything on Arthur and
Gotcha.
test stuff out.
He's generally right in with the guns. You can see all the types of guns at all the stores, and the general stores have all the same stuff. But the tailor has way more clothes than the general store, so there is some stuff that you'll get to later in the game where when you want to get a top hat and a fluffy ascot. and-
Are there bait shops, or do you just buy that at
There is a
general
bait
store?
shop. Yeah, it's up in the La Grasse region by the lake.
Okay, interesting. Riley from Issaquah, Washington says, hello, crew. What are your thoughts on the less than stellar reception of Red Dead 2 from the fans? The user score on the Metacritic is noticeably low, especially compared to Rockstar's other games. It's at about a 75 on the
Oh,
PS4
wow.
version. But just thinking, what do you think about the fan reception so far to this game?
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't quantify those things because people some of those reviews are because it's not on PC.
Right,
That
right.
is not an actual metric that means anything in the world,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because people use it for hate campaigns and they use it to bring attention to the fact that they're upset about something. So
true.
I don't know what that means. I think there's a healthy dialogue around the game.
Totally.
There's
yeah.
a lot of people that love the game and there's people that have some problems with it, but that's most games. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think more than just reading the emails that were sent in, which, a couple dozen or something, it seems like a lot of people love it. A lot of people are still trying to process their feelings on it. I think that's the overwhelming sentiment just from the vibe on Twitter and stuff, is people just chewing on this thing for a while, other than being just amazed by the production of it, just jaw-dropping
Yeah.
production. But then beyond that, it's a thinker.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of struggling to figure out how they feel about the realism and even just the way it kind of breaks out of the kind of more typical open world mold.
Totally.
It does things kind of in a more peculiar and slow-paced way that you kind of have to take some time to wrap your head around. So for an action game, that's a different pace.
I
Yeah.
told one of my friends that there's a difference between recognizing the sophistication of this game and liking or not liking the game, right? I don't think you can play this game and decide that it's a bad game.
No.
it's not that.
No.
Like, it's not even remotely that. It is one of the most sophisticated pieces of interactive entertainment that anybody has ever put out.
Yeah, and profitable.
Objectively, I think it is
Yeah.
that, right? Not even like an opinion. Now, whether you like it or not and what they're trying to do with that, that's a whole different ballgame. And we're not always, in the video game sphere, we're not always used to talking in those terms, because even like 5-10 years ago, we were still like, there's a lot of games that you'd come out and the conversation was like, does this game work or not? Right? Like, is it functional? Can you get through it? And do all the bosses work? Right? Like, and this is not a game that's the discussion about it. This is a really, really deep, complex piece of art, and you got to decide if it's something that's worth your time.
Totally. And the part that I'm fascinated by is just thinking about the hype, and also just kind of like the mass audience hype for this game. Like, I'm trying to think of what an analogy would be from the film industry, but the idea of so many people, millions and millions and millions of people looking forward to this slow, story-focused, kind of immersive simmy type game. I think it's just unprecedented across all of
The
entertainment.
new Avatar movies.
Yeah.
Clearly.
No, even think like, yeah, people are looking forward to like the Avengers and stuff, but it's like, yeah, I want the wham bam, thank you, ma'am, for 2 hours and see some teaser at the end. Done. But the idea of like craving like this slow, immersive,
5-hour movie.
Well,
or
that's
Yeah.
Maybe
I mean-
like AI would be the last, like that movie had a
Maybe
pretty big
Kubrick fans,
buzz,
but
bigger buzz than I thought, just because of the Kubrick and Spielberg kind of.
yeah, but I don't think to this level,
I think accepting the truth of what I completely agree with Bert's, that like using metrics like some percentage number on an aggregator site is not going to tell you very much. But I do think that there's evidence that there are a lot of people out there that are feeling like this is not the game that they signed up for or whatever.
Right.
Or
whether
expected.
that's or expected, whether they like that or not. And I think there is something there that's going on, that there's so many people who are playing this game, as evidenced by those sales numbers.
yeah.
There are some folks who are just not gonna totally vibe on what the game's doing, and that doesn't surprise me. Even the 12 hours in that I am with the game, you can already have a sense that like this is not like your traditional mass market. Everybody goes sees, like for instance, you go see the a new Star Wars movie or the Avengers or something like that, and even if you don't really love superheroes or Star Wars, it's kind of like it's popcorny enough that like, oh, that was a fun explosion, and
Right.
that was a goofy, funny
It
dialogue
doesn't ask
section.
anything of you.
Not
Yeah.
really. I mean, whereas like this game is not that. I mean,
It's awesome.
it's really awesome.
It's
but
awesome that we can still have high art that's
Totally.
not that.
100%.
Yeah, no,
100%.
Because I'm
Totally,
so
totally.
goddamn sick of comic book movies and everything being the fucking same.
Yeah.
Like, it is nice to have something different from a major studio that's spending hundreds of millions of dollars on it.
I can't think
absolutely.
of another AAA game that has been this unsafe in the mechanics it puts in and how much it.
Yeah, Breath of the
relies on
Wild, I think, is in the ballpark,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't think it's this level.
It's
nearly.
interesting
Yeah.
how greedy games are, and I think we lose sight of it just in terms of your time investment, because you talk to somebody and it's like there's like a 10-episode limited series on Netflix, and people will gripe about it if the first 2 episodes are kind of slow, and it's like this insurmountable obstacle that you might have to sit through an hour or 2 hours of something that is like methodically paced so you can get to the good stuff. But
Yeah.
here, you're playing probably 3 hours before there's still engaging, interesting stuff that happens in that introduction, but I don't think anyone is going to play those and think like pumping their fist in the air. Hell yeah! I mean, it is. I
Yeah.
loved it. I think it's great, but it's
not what you'd expect.
very, very
Yeah,
slow
totally.
burn.
It sets a tone.
It's
And
such
if
an-
you don't have a whole lot of time to engage with a game, it really does ask a lot of you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we may lose sight of like Red Dead 1 also. Very, very,
like
very
that.
slow
Oh,
burn
yeah.
too. Even though it
Yeah.
wasn't like trudging through the snow. I mean, like you get knocked flat on your ass after that initial encounter with Bill.
That's true,
And then
but
it just goes on and on.
that's true.
hurting.
But like by comparison, Red Dead's like a 100-yard dash in terms of its pacing. I think like between
I would
Red
go
Dead
back
1
to it.
and
I
Red
think
Dead
you might be
2.
surprised. There's a lot of herding and walking with Bonnie.
Yeah.
And chit chat.
That opening train sequence
following
alone
dogs
is-
at
Yeah,
night.
all
takes some
that,
time.
that Bonnie farm stuff takes quite a while
Yeah.
to get through.
Yeah, for
so,
sure. But I agree. This is on another level, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a weird question for you. Cork,
Finally.
I was really thinking about this, and this is going to be an insane thing. And especially listeners and viewers of the Game Informer show are going to say, you're insane. But seriously, what percentage of players out there, think of like all the people you went to high school with that are buying this game, everybody.
Yeah.
What percentage of people don't realize this is a prequel?
Don't realize it's a prequel.
Don't realize it's a prequel.
Oh, I'm sure like tons of
don't know.
people.
Oh,
I would say 40%.
Like buying it, they don't know
Yes.
that, or like they're playing it for a while.
I
and
think even
still don't know
starting it, don't
Yeah,
know that.
I-
Don't care, don't know. Like I was looking at like the stats for how many finished the first Red Dead on PS3 at least 22% actually beat that game. So I think like even contextually,
That's so disappointing. It's the best ending of all time.
I know, it's insane though. But I think there's so many people where it's like cowboy game. Oh yeah, I think
Yep.
that guy was in the first game. I don't care. Moving on.
I don't know. I mean, I wonder how many people even like go to the step of like, I know who these characters are. I know what their names are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
I don't think so.
just like I think there's a lot of people who play video games out there who are just engaging with them on a different, much more casual level than
Oh, yeah.
than other people do.
Yeah.
And that for some of them, it's like, hey, there's that cowboy game. What's it called? Red something.
Totally.
I want that game.
Or
And, like,
even,
they
or
probably
even
say
like,
duh a lot.
hey, here, you know,
No, I'm not. I'm really not like making fun of these people. I'm saying like some people just are engaging with their entertainment on a much more casual level. And I don't think the idea of like John Marston as a character is even a thing for them. They played a cowboy game like 10
Yes.
years ago, and then now they're playing a different cowboy game, and I think it's,
Oh, it's the
kind of
sequel to that
sure.
cowboy game.
It's that
I
cowboy
don't
game,
know.
and I'm gonna play it. Is this the same cowboy? I don't care.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I think there's a good chunk of like a big audience that just kind of, like you said, are casually engaging with video games, and it's sometimes easy for us to forget a little bit about that because we're just so ingrained in
100%.
this culture.
Jeff Cork, you're shaking your head violently.
I think you're absolutely insane. I think that you're.
There
I think-
it is.
I
All
think
right,
that
thank
you're,
you.
You're ascribing ignorance to a there's no way to prove it one way or another. But I think
Well,
that
focus groups do, and like Ken Levine talks about this when you talk to him about the way he designs BioShock games. He's like, we have all the story if you want it, but for the people that just want to go in
Yeah.
and shoot stuff and freeze stuff and shoot it after they froze it and all that stuff, like you can just engage on a very, very primal
So Ken
level.
Levine
I think
says
you
I'm
could-
right, Jeff Cork.
I think you could certainly do that, but I don't know that how many people that have played spent a meaningful amount of time with the first Red Dead and are just like, herp-a-derp, that's just some cowboy game.
I'm sure a lot of people
What are you
didn't
saying
even
about these
play the
people?
first Red Dead or just see Rockstar's name and they're like, oh, isn't that the GTA guys?
Totally.
They'll pick this up.
Yeah.
Why do we care? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just a little thought I had. It's
Great
not
question.
important. I want to just get out there how nice it is to hear John Marston's voice again. That's like one of my favorite performances
Yes.
ever from video game.
Yes.
And I just sit next to him in camp, just like say another line. Let me hear that voice.
Honestly, I'm kind of with you, and I didn't even realize I had that much fondness for it.
Yeah.
And then, like, when we started interacting with him again, I was like, oh, yeah, it's the same guy. Like, I was like, I know you.
I love it too because it's like it's the same guy, and a lot of people really hate him. And
Yes.
it kind of sucks. And
Yep, I love that.
And they
I
make
love that.
fun of him that he can't swim, which is amazing.
They call him dumb all the time.
Yeah,
It
it's
like
great.
recontextualizes who he is in a way that a prequel should to make it interesting.
Yeah.
100% is the opposite of Solo in a lot of ways. Yeah. So, in spoiler for the first Red Dead, does he ever say how he got the scars in a Joker-esque style in the first Red Dead? I'm trying to remember.
don't think so.
I
Okay.
replayed it this year, and I don't recall it.
Yeah, I
coming
had
out.
That's
recently
interesting.
replayed it too.
Okay, because I like
didn't
Morgan's
notice
just
anything.
quick little one-off line about that in the sequel here. But yeah. Okay, rapid fire questions from RJ in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Say, hey, after a week or so with Red Dead 2, I have 4 questions about the game that I want you guys to answer. Well, 3 realistically. Scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed are you with the minimal amount of fast travel opportunities? Leo, scale of 1 to 10.
2.
Cork?
0. I love it.
I put it at like I didn't bother me as the story was going on, but now that I'm just jumping around, I kind of wish I had it.
Ooh.
So I'd maybe be 5-ish.
Okay.
4.
7.
9.
3.
Have you
Really?
guys fast
Only
traveled?
3.
No,
No.
I haven't. I don't even know how.
I don't know how either.
It's beautiful. It is
Oh.
so well done. It's great. I love it.
Are there more options later in the game? Sounds
Yes.
like no.
Yes.
A
Yes.
camping
More,
upgrade.
but
More,
I-
but
fast travel.
I think it would have been. I think it for me went from 5 to 7 when I got stuck out in the middle of the wilderness after a mission and my horse isn't anywhere nearby
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
have no a way to get anywhere. And literally, this is where I'm at in the game right now, and I just didn't turn it on yesterday at all because I don't want to run for 25 minutes to get back to where I want to go.
Catch
it
a new
just
horse.
doesn't interest me.
Yeah, you can catch
I mean,
a horse.
sure, I could go try to find a horse somewhere, but like that ticked up my frustration.
I had
with
that happen to me
particular
as well.
I
It's
totally
very
hear you.
frustrating.
Hey, here's a quick tangent before we get back to the rapid fire things. I forget who tweeted it, but I saw a tweet that I love this weekend saying that it feels like Red Dead 2 and Breath of the Wild are coming from some sort of like alternate dimension where Far Cry 2 was the most influential game instead of Far Cry 3.
Huh.
It's like, it is weird. There's some
love that.
think piece. There's something about just the Breath of the Wild comparisons. Because Bertz, I know you aren't the biggest fan of Breath of the Wild, but
Yeah, not at
playing
all.
so much of this game, I just think like, people are annoyed by weapons breaking in Breath of the Wild. Like, this game is nothing but just annoying little inconveniences that are just tenfold anything that annoyed me in Breath of the Wild. Anyways, that's
I
it.
agree.
Okay, thank you. Leo in the booth. RJ also wants to know, what is the probability that you'll finish the main story? Leo?
100%.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that from you. All right, Core?
I love the story. It's so integrated in everything you do and how you just walk around the camp and interact with people and you
Yeah.
split off with
Totally.
different companions and the pairings all evolve. I think it's so well done. It's so
Yeah.
integrated into the gameplay. It's perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
Are we all sitting at 100%?
Yeah.
100%.
I'll put
I
it
think
at
I'm
90.
50-50, honestly.
Oh, really?
Which adds up to 100%.
There we go. He did it. Number 3, what are the odds that Red Dead 2 Online will have a Battle Royale?
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
They have it in GTA Online, kind of.
Right.
they?
So probably
So that's good
60%.
for
One of the
Yeah.
adversary modes, yeah.
Yeah.
Dust
some
Storm.
It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah, shut up.
It is weird. What if,
Yeah, can you email this guy back?
yeah, hey,
Shut
RJ,
up.
I got some thoughts on this. I do like that idea, though, of it's so weird having like the staggered release of the main game and then the online mode. Like, I know it's a can of worms for reviewing, but like, what if Reddit Online comes out and it just is abysmal? Like, in your mind, that doesn't diminish the game at all, right, Bertz? It's like, still, you can ignore it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to write that up when that's coming out as well.
Yeah.
I kind of like that they're siloed, to be honest.
It's
I don't-
interesting.
Because, like, there's games like Doom, the reboot of Doom,
Yeah.
I probably would have given that like a 9.5 because I love the single player. But the multiplayer was so crap. And it's such a part of it that I had to evaluate that and put it into the whole package. I don't know.
It's a tough thing of what if they staggered it for that
Yeah.
release? Like, what do we do for reviews? Like, we have to tell people what it is right now.
Battlefield 5 is actually doing us a lot of favors.
The menu is a 10 out of 10, and that's about all you get at launch of
Coming
Battlefield 5.
soon. I'm really intrigued.
Any other stories or any other thoughts anybody wants to get out there about Red Dead 2?
Talking to everybody in the world
Yeah.
is like, it's a revelation. Obviously, no other studio could ever do it, but it adds so much. I'm in love with it.
Such a little detail, being able to hail
Yeah.
people as you walk by. I love it.
I love the characters and I love the world. I just love the detail. I'm just enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, it's another level. It is just absurd. It's a once-in-a-generation event now that we get a Rockstar game. So
Yeah. I mean, at this point, how long are we going to have to wait for the next thing from them?
GTA 6? Ooh,
Yeah.
boy.
Bully 2.
2.
obviously.
Bully 2, hopefully.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Hope so.
Come on, Kevin.
That'd be
Maybe,
nice.
maybe they'll throw
Fingers
us a
crossed.
curveball.
That'd be fun. That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.